But after Renaissance or during 1920s, football in football priority was given for women's also. Slowly, they started participating at the national as well as the international level. Now, even football is a popular European sport as well as a popular world sport as well as a popular sports in Olympics also. And characteristics of this soccer is that it is very highly intense game. Higher intensity is there. It is played for 90 minutes, a team game it is. And why I have chosen this topic, because women were given less priority even at the research field also. Researchers are very less on this women football team. So a small effort was done by me to know the physical qualities or characteristics of an woman footballers, especially the defenders and attackers. Purpose of this study: the study is to compare physical characteristics among the soccer players of various centers of a southern part of Kerala. This study was opted in southern parts of Kerala because here Kerala is promoting football very much. I feel compared to other parts of our Indian states, especially West Bengal or Punjab. Some of the important states are there where they promote football. Out of these states, even Kerala is promoting football for female also. So that's why this was an important point for me to opt this topic as a research work. A hypothesis: it is hypothesized there will be a significant difference on physical variables among the defenders and attackers of female soccer players. Explosive power, muscular strength, and uh, distance covered, intermediate endurance. Here, one thing I want to focus: the physical characteristics are not limited only for these abilities. There are number of, but I have selected only a few of them for this research work. So in further researches, other abilities which are there that can be focused. Here I am focusing only on explosive power, muscular strength, and endurance abilities. Between the defenders and attackers, there was an assumption also. That is, the assumption is that there will be a significant difference. Methods in this process to check the endurance quality: yo-yo intermediate endurance test level 2 is opted. To check the explosive strength, vertical jump test is opted. And to check the muscular endurance, sit-up test was opted. Uh, so in this, especially before also I have mentioned that those who are range aged between 16 to 19 years subjects were opted here, especially the female strikers and defenders from district Kollam and Tirunanthapuram. And after the collection of data, analysis of the data and results, you can see that here that in table number 1, there is a description for vertical jump test, strikers and defenders. From each group, 25 students participated in this. And the mean, you can see the difference here. For a striker, 32.84, and for the defender, it is 33.92. And the standard deviation is 7.30, and for the defenders 6.92. T value was 0.53 and P value is 0.59. And in table number 2, descriptive statistics for sit-up test, especially for endurance. strikers scored 53.44 and defenders scored 52.64 in mean. In standard deviation, 6.86 scored by strikers and 5.52 by a defender. T value is 0.45 and P value is 0.65. And in table number 3, there is a description on yo-yo test. Strikers, they scored 14.18 and defenders scored 13.90 in mean, and in standard deviation 593 and 629. It is 629. T value is 1.61 and P value is 0.11. This is the analysis. These are the results of the data which were collected, and the result says that from statistical analysis, it was clear that the strikers and defenders do not significantly differ on explosive power, muscular strength, and distance covered intermediate endurance in yo-yo test. One assumption is that before, the assumption was that there is a significant difference, but we have found that there is no difference at all. So as per this study, hypothesis is rejected. Discussion. This is not a new thing. Already many researchers were done on this, especially similar results were found in the studies of Rebello J. Brito Tella 2013 study on anthropometric characteristics of physical fitness and technical performance of under 19 soccer players by competitive level and field positions. Even in this researchers or in articles, we can find that some of the assumptions which we had that there will be a significant difference, that was went null. There were no significant differences. And in conclusion, in the analysis of distance covered, the striker proved better than a defender, even though there is no significant differences. In mean, there was a difference also. Means somewhere these strikers are better in their endurance abilities compared to a defender, but not absolutely like still very superior, very significant it is. No, the strikers and defenders do not significantly differ on explosive power also, as well as muscular strength and distance covered in yo-yo test. And recommendations, what I feel is that the similar study on soccer player of the other states of India and on national team of India can be done. So because still we are developing in this sports, especially in soccer, so we can have a lot number of researchers. Even researchers in India is very scanty, so we can promote these sort of researchers in soccer also in India. Studies may be conducted with other physical, physiological, and psychological variables. I have conducted only on a physical aspects, only limited to 3, but further this can be expanded to other physical characteristics like agility or any other abilities. Even they can focus towards physiological abilities also and psychological abilities also. So here are the few references which gives some more information about this research work, especially Sendrakar D and Hamad SH.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. Since we are running out of time, can we conclude this, sir?
Yeah, please. Yeah, there are few references.
Okay.
So that gives them some more information about this. With this, I conclude my presentation. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjeev S. Patil. I think on behalf of the organizers, there was a change in the topics since both Sanjeev and Sanjay Kumar represent
I understand. No problem. No problem, sir.
It's
No
okay,
problem.
sir. It's okay. Thank you so much, sir. It was very well presented paper. Though the hypothesis was rejected, but you clearly defined that both the defenders and the strikers play a major role in the game, and they don't have much of differences in the strength and the distance covered and the other physical parameters. Thank you so much, sir. Since we are running short of time, we do away with the question and answer session. Now, thank you once again. Radha ma'am, do you have anything to say?
Patel sir, nice presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, moving on to the second presenter, Mr. Baladayalan Yadav. He is an international delegate representing Colombo University. His topic is substance abuse among basketball players in Jaffna, an underdiagnosed social concern. Am I right, Mr. Baladayalan? All is yours. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Is the screen visible?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes.
Right. Okay. Good morning, Chairperson, sir, Co-Chairperson, ma'am, and the members of the House. I am Dr. B. Yadev, demonstrator at the Department of Surgery, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. And my topic for today is substance abuse among basketball players in Jaffna, an underdiagnosed social concern. Jaffna is a district in the northern part of the island, which is isolated from the rest of the world for the past 30 years due to the civil war. Resettlements began after 2009, that is the end of the war, and people gradually started returning to normalcy, and so did the habit of substance abuse. Now, the WHO defines substance abuse as the use of illegal drugs as well as the consumption of legal drugs in an amount that is harmful to the health, and that includes alcohol as well. Since 2018, the WHO has said that even a drop of alcohol is considered to be abuse because there is no more safe level for the consumption of alcohol. The National Dangerous Drug Control Board of Sri Lanka conducted a survey in Jaffna after the war and found out that there was a dramatic increase in the amount of people consuming alcohol, tobacco, and other prohibited substances. So we wanted to find out this prevalence among sports communities, and for that we targeted the basketball population due to two reasons. First of all, basketball is an emerging sport in Jaffna after the war, and secondly, all of it is controlled by the Jaffna District Basketball Association, and all the players are bound to their rules and regulations. So substance abuse is a very common topic among team sports, and there is enough literature in the world to support this due to multiple factors like peer pressure, celebration, and performance enhancement, etc. So the general objective of this study was to assess the prevalence, to find out the influence of selected socio-demographic factors and the knowledge regarding the substance abuse among these players. Based on this general objective, we developed three specific objectives. Firstly, to assess the prevalence. Secondly, to assess the influence of these demographic factors on the substance use. And thirdly, to assess the knowledge. A descriptive cross-sectional institution-based study was conducted from May 2018 to May 2019 at the basketball courts of the registered clubs, and the data was collected during practice sessions or at the end of games. Both male and female participants of these squads who were registered in the clubs were included, and the sample size was calculated according to this equation. The p-value was considered to be 0.5 because there was no similar research that was conducted in Asia or Sri Lanka for that matter. So the total sample size was 422, but the total number of basketball players in Jaffna was just 240. Therefore, all the players were included. A study instrument was used as a questionnaire. The questionnaire was used as a self-administered questionnaire because the JDBA confirmed that all the players in Jaffna were literate and have had the basic school education, basically because of the fact that basketball is only coached at schools. So this questionnaire had two parts, part A and part B. Part A collected the basic details, whereas part B assessed the substance usage and the knowledge. A knowledge score was derived with giving marks for 10 questions, and the people who have got marks below 5 were considered to have poor knowledge, above 7 was considered to have good knowledge, and in between were considered to have an average knowledge. A pilot study was conducted in Kilinochchi district, and the questionnaire was validated by a consultant psychiatrist and also a sociology lecturer. And data analysis was conducted using the SPSS software. So the results are as follows. 208 players out of the 240 participants responded to the questionnaire with a response rate of 86.7%. The age was ranging from 15 to 29 with a mean age of 22.3, and the majority were males, which was 73.6%. Surprisingly, 58.7% of the participants seem to have average knowledge on the harmful effects, and 33.7% had good knowledge on substance abuse. So this chart shows the prevalence. The current users were 57 and the past users were 13, encountering to an overall prevalence of 70 users, that is 33.65%. This was much higher than the actual prevalence of substances in the community in Jaffna, which was around 18 to 20%. So we wanted to find out what was the substance they were using, and it was pretty evident that alcohol and cigarette were the most abused substances, which was followed by cannabis, which is also known as ganja in Sri Lanka, and also the next was mawa, which is similar to pan masala in India. There were also toddy and bidi that was abused by these players. So we wanted to find out what were the factors that was influencing the prevalence, and it was pretty evident that age, gender, educational level, and knowledge on harmful effects of substance abuse had a strong correlation with the prevalence. We wanted to find out were it the same factors that influenced the most commonly abused substances such as alcohol and cigarettes. And yes, age, education level, and knowledge were still the same factors that influenced it. So this chart shows you all that males outnumbered the females, and also the adults had a higher chance of abusing substances compared to the youngsters, since the age for legal usage of alcohol and cigarettes is 21 in Sri Lanka. The p-values were less than 0.05, showing strong correlation. This is a graphical representation of the data that I just told you all, and males have clearly outnumbered the females in substance usage. When the prevalence was considered among the education level and knowledge, the university graduates had less prevalence, and at the same time, those who had above average knowledge on substance abuse's ill effects had a less prevalence. This again had a less p-value. This again is the graphical representation of the data showing that knowledge and education level have had a strong correlation with the prevalence. Same goes with the substance alcohol, where age, education level, and knowledge showed strong correlation. And the same was with the prevalence of smoking, where people who were older smoked more, the people with less education level smoked more, and also people with less average knowledge smoked more. This brings me to the conclusion that substance abuse was highly prevalent among the basketball players of Jaffna. Almost all the players had adequate knowledge regarding the ill effects of substance use. Age, gender, education level, and knowledge on the ill effects of substance usage were influencing factors of the substance use. Therefore, we would like to recommend that a proper guidance and education should be given to the players to minimize the usage. Effective interventions and policies should be implemented by the Jaffna District Basketball Association so that the spirit of the game is preserved. Further studies need to be conducted to assess the attitude, because most of the players had adequate knowledge, but they were still abusing the substance. So therefore, the attitude towards the users, towards the substances must be assessed. And also similar studies must be conducted in other sports as well. This is the list of reference that was used to perform this study. And I would like to thank the Jaffna District Basketball Association, the ERC, and the Department of Community and Family Medicine of University of Jaffna, the supervisors, Tushani Ranawaka, and the BAPU Degree College. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baladayalan. At the outset, it's very horrifying to learn that the sports persons are involved in these type of activities. At the same time, I appreciate you for taking up this type of unique research work. And I think a comparative study of the players who use and those who don't use, and the effect on the game could be taken up in the future. Thank you very much, Mr. Baldayalan. It was very well presented. Very well presented. Radha ma'am, anything to say?
Yes, sir. Yadav sir, nice presented.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Baladayalan. Moving on to the third presenter of the session, may I call upon Dr. Sanjay Kumar Prajapati. Hopefully, he is presenting the analysis of relationship between anthropometric characteristics and aerobic capacity of football players. Is it so, sir? Go ahead, sir. It's yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So, respected guest, chairperson, am I audible, sir, clearly?
Your voice is breaking a bit, sir, but it's okay. Let us see, sir. Let us see how it goes.
Okay. Respected guests, chairperson, co-chairperson, all other dignitaries and participants, a very good morning to you all. So my topic is analysis of relationship between anthropometric characteristics and aerobic capacity in football players. Why I have come to this topic? Because I find in soccer, aerobic capacity is considered to be a key factor that is related to the high performance. And there is evidence that the success of this sports is closely related to the anthropometric characteristics. So I came to the problem. So how to find out relationship between anthropometric characteristics and
Sanjay, sir, could you please turn off your video?
Yes, sir.
And then talk?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So according to the Relay, anthropometric and physiological criteria to have a role as a part of holistic monitoring of that young player. Selection of process of young players, physiological performance, and anthropometrical advantage are considered as important factor. So while seeing this review, while seeing this introduction, I came to the problem of my study, that is to find out the relationship between anthropometric characteristics and aerobic capacity. So the purpose of this study to find out the relationship between anthropometric characteristics and aerobic capacity in football players. The subject for the purpose of this study, the subject was selected from the Sports Authority of India, Lakshmibai National College of Physical Education, and they performed yo-yo intermittent recovery test for the aerobic capacity and certain selected anthropometric characteristics like height, weight, and body fat percentage were calculated. The criteria measures for the anthropometric measurement. For the purpose of this study, participants were asked to report to the laboratory of the sports science building in the Lakshmibai National College of Physical Education, and the measurement of height, body mass, and skin fold measurement was measured to the nearest 0.1 kg. Using an electronic scale, that is Sega instrument, that is Hamburg, Germany, was given to the LNCP, and height was measured to the nearest 0.001 meter. Using an electronic scale, that is Sega instrument, skin fold thickness was measured at 4 sites: biceps, triceps, subscapular, and suprailiac, by using the Harbenden skin fold caliper. And this entire test was measured based on the ICDAC guideline. Even the aerobic capacity measure, it is with the yo-yo intermittent recovery level 1. So with this test, directly we can measure the aerobic capacity. Statistical analysis. For the purpose of the analysis of relationship between anthropometric characteristics and aerobic capacity of football players, the Pearson product movement correlation was used for the purpose of analysis. SPSS 21 software was used for the analysis. And when we talk about the results the table 1 shows that between height and aerobic capacity of football player. As we see here, the table 1 shows the height and aerobic capacity. The mean of the height and aerobic capacity is 170.88 and 3474. And standard deviation of height and aerobic capacity is 1.07 and 187.28. And also it shows that the p-value, that is 0.238, it is more than the 0.05. Since the 0.05 is the level of significance and the p-value is more than 0.05, so easily we can say that it is not significant. It means there is no relationship between the height and aerobic capacity of football players. As the graphical representation shows, there is no relationship between the height and aerobic capacity of the football player. Table 2, it is the correlation between the body mass and aerobic capacity of football player. So table 2 shows the mean and standard deviation of body mass is 62.36 and 1.12, and mean and standard deviation of aerobic capacity, that is 3474 and 187.28. It also shows the p-value, that is 0.152, that is more than the 0.05. It shows that there is no relationship between the body mass and aerobic capacity of football player. Once we see the graphical representation of this particular table, so it clearly shows there is no relationship between body mass and aerobic capacity of football player. Table 3, it is a correlation between body fat percentage and aerobic capacity of football player. So here the mean and standard deviation of body fat percentage and aerobic capacity are 9.05, 3474, and standard deviation 0.44 and 187.28. It shows also the p-value of body fat percentage and aerobic capacity, that is 0.108, that is also more than 0.05. So it also is not significant correlated. As we see the graphical representation, it shows that there is no relationship between the body fat percentage and aerobic capacity of football player. So we come to the findings. The findings shows that it clearly indicate that the above result indicate that the selected anthropometric variable like height, body mass, and body fat percentage are not significantly correlated with aerobic capacity of football player. Also, it is consistent with the study like with the Gligo-Rosca that says that the hypothesis that people with greater muscle mass have greater endurance and higher maximum oxygen consumption than people with greater body fat. So to improve the performance and physical fitness and endurance of our adult soccer player, we must develop and establish strategy for decreasing body fat at every stage of athlete preparation as well as during the session. So the result and findings clearly says that there is no relationship between the selected anthropometric characteristics like height, body mass, and body fat percentage and aerobic capacity of the football player. So we came to the conclusion of the study. The study shows there is no relationship between height and aerobic capacity, body mass and aerobic capacity, body fat percentage and aerobic capacity of football player. In order to achieve the best performance or success in football, all coaches and physical education teachers should pay attention toward the anthropometric and physiological variables. And also, it is important for coaches or teachers to promote decreasing body fat, maintaining proper body mass, and improving aerobic capacity. So here's some of the recommendation. While identifying a potential footballer, the emphasis should be given to anthropometric variable for the identification of talent. While developing the training program of football players, the focus should be on body shape and size. The present may be conducted on female football player. The present study may be repeated, selecting others variables like psychological and biomechanical. So these are the sum of my study. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay Kumar Prajapati, sir. Your presentation was very clear, though there was no impact of anthropometric characteristics and aerobic capacity. Height, mass, and other parameters will not affect on the performance of the players. Your study encourages all body types of people to take up football as a passion. Thank you so much, sir. Since we are running short of time, moving on to the last presenter of the session, Ms. Tushani Ranawaka. She is a faculty of medicine in the University of Colombo. She will be presenting her paper on challenges to resume team sports amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, what the future holds for the developing world. Over to you, Tushani Ranawaka, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Is the presentation visible, sir?
It's audible.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You have to share the screen. Right at the bottom, share the screen. Yeah, yes, yes.
So let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Tushani Ranawaka from Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. So today I would like to present my review, which I did on challenges to resume team sports amidst this COVID-19 pandemic, what the future holds for the developing world. So the entire world have been suffering from COVID-19 pandemic since the late 2019. So all aspects of life were affected and the sports was not an exception. So with this, countries had to take extreme measures to ensure that this disease won't spread beyond their boundaries and disease will not cause significant damage to their citizens, to ensure safety of their citizens. So with that background, we are living today in this new normal era. So currently the world is reopening. And it's not a new thing that the different countries will have to take their own approach, especially the developing world, with their resource restraint setting, depending on the disease spread, success of the mass vaccination campaign, and availability of their resources. With this, however, the disease, the COVID-19, the virus is also changing. We cannot forget that this virus is mutating, giving out Delta plus, and Lambda viruses. So the disease is mutating, disease will progress, and this will happen for another couple of months or even years to come. However, the world is reopening. With this background, my expectation was to study the existing literature on COVID-19 and sports, where I found a significant gap in knowledge, a significant gap in research when it comes to developing countries. So there are many guidelines and recommendations published by international and local federations from the developed world in order to resume team sports, which is a big gap in the developing countries because we will be definitely heading into a difficult time. However, I believe that it is important to recognize these challenges and plan ahead. So my review is based on the existing literature, mainly coming from the developing world, but I have attempted to identify the challenges that developing countries would face. So there will be challenges to resume training and there will be challenges to resume tournaments. So when it comes to resuming training, COVID-19 is a respiratory disease with short and long-term respiratory complications, which will affect the athlete. And there are well-documented cardiac complications like heart attacks, arrhythmias, and other neurological complications as well. So by the time we resume sports, there will be athletes who are already infected of COVID-19, however, not showing symptoms. And there can be athletes with a history of COVID-19. So they will have complications, long-term complications. So it is of utmost importance that we monitor test these athletes before starting sports and regularly monitor. Already published guidelines have stated this very firmly that these athletes should be categorized according to their risk and they should be regularly monitored. For the developing world, this is going to be a big challenge with the ongoing economic crisis and lack of human resources. And having proper regulations and guidelines by local experts based on international recommendations is of utmost importance. So from the literature I could gather from the developed world, which are already published, they have mainly focused on medical recommendations, which basically they firmly on the biobubble concept. We are familiar with the concept where the athletes and the trainers and all other respective parties will not be having any contact with the outside world, and regular disinfection of sports equipments, maintaining social distancing, and some guidelines have proposed a stepward approach where the athletes will be first trained individually and then gradually they will be introduced into the team sports. Because athletes are coming after a very long period of dormancy. So it is very important that these athletes won't get overloaded because they are more prone to get injuries after this long period of detraining. So they will experience this detraining phenomenon, which is that they will lose the status which they have achieved prior to stopping sports. So they had to stop unexpectedly without any tailing off period. So they have been at their homes with a lot of other problems. So they will definitely experience this detraining phenomenon now more than ever. And the athletes will struggle with their athletic identity. So athletes, they identify themselves as athletes. They have this recognition, be it elite athletes or non-elite athletes, they have this athletic identity. So during these lockdown periods, during these dormancy periods, they will not get to experience this, enjoy this athletic identity. So studies have shown that elite athletes and team sports athletes especially show higher athletic identity, and athletes with higher athletic identity tend to ruminate and catastrophize more. So they will have a huge psychological impact because they will struggle to deal with losing their athletic identity. So other than that, they will be struggling with a lot of psychological effects from losing their jobs, not having to study, and various other social and economical problems. And nutrition and hydration is anyway very important for an athlete. However, in this pandemic period, it will be even more important considering many facts, nutrition itself, and also the economic background around providing adequate nutrition to athletes. And there should be programs to enhance immunity and the vaccination, which is the only weapon we have right now to fight this pandemic. Mass vaccination. So countries will have to have a commendable level of vaccination to achieve herd immunity. So this will be difficult for developing countries. So it will take time. I know that the governments are purchasing vaccines right now, and they are getting vaccines as donations from governmental and non-governmental organizations. However, it is going to be a challenge for the developing countries, and it will take some time to achieve this commendable level. And it is needless to say that already struggling economies of developing countries will be struggling a lot more in future, and they already do because of these financial problems. So to resume tournaments, World Health Organization have highlighted 5 key factors, which due to the time constraint, I will not go into detail. However, what they have highlighted is the importance of identifying the risk in their particular community. So before starting a tournament, you have to identify the risk level in your respective community. Following identification of these problems, you have to make sure the athletes, trainers, all the officials and spectators are protected from COVID-19 before resuming tournaments. So that is going to be a very big financial burden for these institutions. It will be very difficult under these circumstances to get sponsorships and partnerships. and they have to ensure that there won't be any mass gatherings, and they are maintaining the standard international regulations and to ensure safety of all. So those are the challenges, in generally speaking, that I could gather from the existing literature. So considering the elite and non-elite athletes, so we just witnessed the closing ceremony of 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which was supposed to be held in 2020, but had to postpone due to this pandemic. So yes, the elite sportsmen and women from all around the world, be it the developed or developing world, they got the opportunity to compete. And all other international leagues and even local leagues involving professional athletes, elite athletes, it's resuming. However, this is not going to be the case for non-elite athletes, because we can actually implement this bio-bubble concept to elite athletes because they're professional athletes. However, for school and university athletes, we cannot implement this because they will be getting exposed to the community. And elite athletes, we can actually implement programs targeting elite international and local tournaments. However, reopening universities and schools will take a different approach. That will take a different route. So governments will definitely prioritize elite athletes over non-elite athletes when allocating funds to continue training, to monitor them, to regularly test them. And they will
Tushani ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. Kindly go to the conclusion part as we are running out of the time. Findings and conclusions.
In conclusion, developing countries are definitely heading towards a difficult time in resuming team sports, and developing and updating local guidelines and regulations will be a major challenge using local experts with multiple other medical, psychological, social, and financial barriers. And non-elite athletes are affected more compared to elite athletes. And it may take a longer time for developing countries to safely resume team sports. However, I do not have enough evidence to make this statement right now. We will definitely need retrospective studies in future. And I would recommend that this is the ideal time for us to think on this matter, to identify the challenges in our respective local settings in our developing countries, and to get down all the stakeholders, local stakeholders, health professionals, policymakers, athletes, and trainers, and carry out studies and identify challenges. And we have to assess the perception and attitudes of the athletes and trainers regarding resumed team sports. And even before the COVID pandemic, the athletic identity in developing countries is not an area that has been well researched. So this is the time to do that research, accompanied by other psychological problems of sports personalities. So these are the references that I used to conduct my review. So the next step would be a systematic review. And I would like to thank the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, and also the Department of Physical Education, University of Colombo, me being an athlete, and also BAPU, Degree College, India, for this valuable opportunity given for me. Thank you.
Stop sharing the screen, ma'am. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Tushani Ranawaka. Definitely, the whole world is affected by the deadly and unexpected disease COVID-19. Your study is very much appropriate and appreciated. It is right for the present scenario. Hope and wish everything becomes normal very soon. And rightly observed and mentioned about the identity issue and the Tokyo Olympics. It's a role model for all the other organizations how to organize sports competition at this pandemic stage. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. To end this session, I would like to thank Dr. A. Shobha, Chief Advisor, and Mr. Dilip Kumar, Organizing Secretary of this international conference, for inviting me as a chairperson for this session. I also thank Dr. Radha P., Physical Education Director, GFGC Hebbu, for being the co-chairperson. And I also thank and congratulate all the delegates who presented the papers in this session. Thank you once again, everyone.
Thank you, Shobha Madam and Dilip sir, giving a good opportunity for the co-chairperson. Thank you, organizing conference committee. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Well, on behalf of the Interdisciplinary International Conference Organizing Committee, I also would render a note of thank for Ravindranath C for chairing this session, and Dr. P. Radha for co-chairing this session. And it was a wonderful session. We had very effective research papers in this session. We are very happy to have Bala Dayalan Yadav, sorry if I'm pronouncing it right. And it was a very nice paper indeed. And honestly, I would nominate this paper for Best Paper Award also. And it was a very nice paper from Dr. Sanjay Kumar Prajapati, Dr. Sanjeev S. Patil, very well presented and highly effective papers. Even Tushani Ranwa ma'am, you have done a very excellent job in your research process. Thank you one and all for making this session successful, and congratulations. Thank you.